Blog Talk Radio.
Hello everyone, today is April 11th, 2010. This is the Jerry Ciolino Show. I'm Jerry Ciolino. On today's show, I'm going to examine the healthcare fraud, the so-called reform bill that was recently passed. In particular, how it funds abortion and gives the IRS new powers to screw you, the people over, and the recently released video by WikiLeaks of U.S. soldiers firing on Iraqi civilians. But at first, a word from yours truly. I was originally going to make a broadcast on March 28th, but couldn't do it because it was inventory day at work. So I was going to do it the next day, the 29th. I was going to do the whole hour on the healthcare bill that was passed, but I kind of became a bit overwhelmed trying to, break through that thing. I mean, it was just too much to digest all at once, so I just had to cancel, that broadcast entirely. Basically breaking down that healthcare bill, it's a lot like, at least all at once, it's like trying to swallow an entire watermelon at once. It's something that just can't be done. I didn't broadcast the following week because of the Easter holiday. I've read a lot of bills and government documents, folks, but no bill or government document I've ever read has had anywhere near as much Washington doublespeak as this one does. And the fact that it's over, 2,700 pages long, and there are very few decent summaries of the bill out there, at least that I could find, because this bill is so ridiculously difficult to translate from bureaucrat to English that only a select few are able to do it. Somebody please make an English to bureaucrat dictionary. And help the cause. I found one decent summary of the bill on freerepublic.com, but it left out many important details regarding the bill, like the fact that it cuts well over $500 million from Medicare and Medicaid, for example, which I'll go over in a future broadcast. Now, I'm still going to expose what's really in the bill and what it really means for us, the working stiffs out there. But instead of having an entire hour on it and having like other stories on future broadcasts like I originally intended, I'm going to do it more like how I did my 6 reasons why I'm not taking the swine flu vaccine, where I just do it little by little throughout the scope of several broadcasts, starting with the provisions that are easier to break down and going from there. Now, I really wish I would have brought this issue up sooner because I really thought that this thing was dead in the water, or that we at least had more time. But I guess tyranny does not take a vacation. With that said, there's no time like the present, so let's get started on this thing. First, despite the promises to the contrary by Obama and the supposedly pro-life Democrats like Bart Stupak, who caved and voted for the bill despite their supposed principles, does cover abortion. Page 176 to 177 is clear that state plan approved under Section 1902 may provide for making medical assistance available to an individual described in Section 1902 relating to individuals who made a certain income eligibility standard during a presumptive eligibility period. In the case of an individual described in Section 1902, such medical assistance shall be limited to family planning services and supplies described in 1905 at the state's option, medical diagnosis and treatment services that are provided in conjunction with a family planning service in a family planning setting. In conjunction with a family planning service in a family planning setting. So not only does it tell what the states can and cannot cover, which is a blatant violation of the 9th and 10th Amendment state sovereignty, but it also uses the popular buzzword family planning, and that they are to be provided with in conjunction with a family planning service and a family planning setting. I can't stress that enough. Now, what's a family planning setting? All you need to do is find that out is to follow the money. America's largest abortion provider, Planned Parenthood, has for well over 30 years has received billions of dollars yearly from us, the taxpayers. In 2008, according to Planned Parenthood's annual report, you can find on their website, they have for that year received $349.6 million, accounting for 34% of their total revenue. And that same year, they gave a total of $74,633 in campaign contributions to politicians, but that was just Planned Parenthood itself. Other pro-abortion groups, many of which are either directly or indirectly affiliated with Planned Parenthood, also gave generously. That year, NARAL donated $106,155 in campaign contributions. Washington Women for Choice donated $50,000. Republican Majority for Choice donated $45,750. New York Choice PAC donated $10,500. Now, and this is only if you include the amount of money given by donors and PACs affiliated with these groups of over $200 or more. If you include everything into the mix, the numbers are much, much higher. Oh, Jerry, but this helps people. Planned Parenthood also does things like prenatal care. Really? In 2007, Planned Parenthood performed over 305,310 abortions, compared to 4,912 adoption referrals, and performed prenatal care in 10,914 cases, compared to 305,310 abortions. The numbers don't lie. Planned Parenthood's main business is murdering unborn babies, and all its other services are secondary. By funding organizations like Planned Parenthood and justifying it as helping people because Planned Parenthood has other services, even though, as I pointed out, those aren't exactly as high on their priority list, pro-abortion politicians have been able to have their cake and eat it too by appeasing their base with funding to Planned Parenthood and other, quote, family planning organizations, and still be able to convince most of the general public who doesn't read between the lines that their taxpayer dollars aren't going to fund abortions, which even in cases where they're not going directly to fund abortions allows organizations like Planned Parenthood to free up more of their funds so they can perform more abortions. All they need to do is take the money they were going to use for something else and use it for abortions and replace that money with the taxpayers' funding that was supposed to be for that other thing. Now, still don't believe that this bill covers abortion? Check out page 53. Quote, provider conscience protections. No individual healthcare provider or healthcare facility may be discriminated against because of a willingness or an unwillingness, if doing so is contrary to the religious or moral beliefs of the provider or facility to provide, pay for, provide coverage, or refer for abortions. Now, sounds reasonable, right? Discrimination is bad, right? Well, that depends on what the definition of is. In this case, the definition of is federal funding. So your taxpayer dollars will go to health plans which don't fund abortion because to not do so would be discriminatory. Okay, but healthcare plans that do fund abortion would get the same treatment because to not do so would be discriminatory. By the warped logic of this passage, a health plan's willingness or refusal to cover abortion is no different from its willingness or refusal to cover plastic surgery. All this double talk about discrimination while conveniently ignoring the fact that forcing taxpayers to fund abortion directly or indirectly commits the same discrimination against taxpayers, many of whom are against this passage trying to be against. Can someone explain to me how forcing someone to pay for abortion is any different than holding a gun to a doctor's head and forcing him to perform an abortion? Seriously, folks, I just can't see the difference. Oh, but Obama signed an executive order banning that, some of you will tell me. Well,